Hi there, everybody. Welcome to Getting Angry here on Tuesday, May 26th, the day after Memorial Day. We're looking at a picture of our illustrious president finally deciding to show some leadership and wearing a mask. What's the big deal, Mr. Trump? Just wear the damn thing. The rest of us do. Anyway, my name's Hank Linderman. I'm running for Congress here in Kentucky's 2nd District. I'm really glad you're all here. We've had several days off, or I have, from doing the broadcasts, and that's been kind of nice. It was, of course, a crazy weekend here at the lake. I'll show you what the lake looks like now. And this won't really be much of an indication, because the lake looks very peaceful now, but before, you would see so many boats out in the water that you almost couldn't see any water. So things have settled down. Hi, Roy. Glad you've joined me. I'm also going to share a look of my hair is getting just out of control, and it's time to do something about it. Now, by the way, I'm wearing my Nope button. Hi, Mary. How are you? You remember the Nope button is all about, the Nope button is about no plastics in my environment. When you go grocery shopping, do your best to not buy anything that uses plastic. You can't avoid it, I realize. But, for example, when you get soft drinks, get them in an aluminum can. Those can be recycled endlessly. Plastic can only be recycled once, and maybe not even that. So, anyway, that's why I'm wearing the Nope pin. And going forward, we'll print up some more of those. And it's a good way to let someone know that you don't want any plastic when you go to the coffee shop. Well, let's get on with things here. Today, as we said, is May 26th. Now, interesting thing has happened with the numbers. Now, this is from yesterday, which was Memorial Day. And notice that the total cases, the total deaths in the United States is 99,805. And you'll also remember a story last week. President Trump was working to have the numbers go down, and we saw the numbers drop. Hi, Mark. How are you doing? I'm glad you're here. Last week, President Trump gets the concept of 100,000 people. Hi, Barbara. He gets the concept that it's not really looking good to have 100,000 people die on your watch. You just missed it. Well, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. As we've said, over the weekends, they're slow to report things. They're so slow that sometimes they don't get any numbers at all. Now, you'll see this is teensy tiny. Kentucky's down there somewhere. But notice all the white spots. Again, this is from yesterday. These are states that didn't even fill in any numbers from yesterday. So I think we hit the 100,000. I really do. And what a tragedy. I mean, that's more deaths than we had in the Vietnam War, I believe. So really terrible. And can you imagine if President Obama had had something like this on his watch and he went golfing on the weekend, that you hit 100,000 deaths? So you can only imagine. Well, big news here in Kentucky, and I know that some of you are from outside the state, but those of you that are inside the state, over the weekend there was a protest, a Second Amendment protest, and our governor, our Democratic governor, Andy Beshear, was hung in effigy and left up there for a bit. I believe someone inside the group ultimately pulled it down and kind of complained about it, and Republicans have been complaining about it. Mitch McConnell even came forward and said there's no place for this in Kentucky. Then again, our Kentucky Republican politicians have been playing with this. They've been teasing this sort of thing forever. And by the way, my opponent, Brett Guthrie, thinks it's okay for him to not say anything about this. He's been dead silent. And that is one of his skills. He's very quiet. He's very cautious about opening his mouth about anything. Anyway, the Republicans who denounced it are out there, and there's apparently a bit of a discussion amongst the Republican Party, and they may be looking for I'm looking to my right because a little lizard walked by to say hi to me. Anyway, there's a Republican that might pay the price for this, and this is a woman named Savannah Maddox, and here she is on Twitter next to this picture. I didn't get the whole picture of the guy, but the guy standing next to her is the guy who hung our governor in effigy. And so the Democratic Party is asking for her to resign. I certainly agree with that, although I tweeted out something and asked her, how does she know this guy and what exactly was she involved in? If you look at the picture, which I didn't show you the whole thing, you can see that it's clearly the state capitol. So she's trying to say, how dare you accuse me? Hi, Ellen. But she's not really denouncing it. So she's trying to have it both ways. She's trying to stay friendly with the Second Amendment folks. And I saw a great interview with Michael Moore this weekend, and he said, I went to high school with these guys that are protesting in Michigan, and I think he's, by extension, talking about Kentucky and other states. And he said, I went to high school with these guys. They want to shoot Bambi. They want to go in the woods and shoot deer. And if the deer were ever armed, if it were ever a fair fight, they would not be going out hunting quite so often. So he was encouraging us progressives that aren't heavily involved with gun culture to not be afraid of them. That's really all they want to do is shoot guns and go hunting. Big story today, the economy. And what we're expecting, this is presented in Politico as something we Democrats don't want, but I want to say up front, if we have a quick recovery of the economy, a V-shaped recovery where we've dropped really quickly and then opening up the country, kind of coming off of the lockdown, that we have a quick recovery, that is what we all should want. So that is what we do want. But the concern is that then President Trump looks good because we're going to see the biggest numbers ever in history. In fact, I'm going to go back to that headline so you can see that. We're about to see the best economic data we've seen in the history of this country, right after some of the worst. So this story in Politico, I do suggest you go read it. And he talks about the White House is responding to the person who commented on this. And he said they get the rebound part, but they don't get the partial. We're going to have only a partial rebound. It's not going to be a completely solved economy going forward. Although the economy did jump 600 points today. There's more detail here. There's going to be, we're still going to have a huge amount of unemployment. We're over 20% unemployment right now, and maybe we'll bring it down to 12, which will be a big deal, but it's not going to be enough. So I love this line. We Democrats need to have voters ask themselves, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? And Republicans need you all to think, are you better off than you were 4 months ago? Boy, it looks great right now. But after all we've been through, I hope we don't have that short an attention span. Here's some more about this. Goolsbee, who's an economist who I believe also was Office of Management and Budget, probably for the Obama administration. I've seen him interviewed. He says, I view it as Trump left the door open and 5 rats came into the kitchen, and you're going to brag, look, I got 2 of the rats out. It's a good thing. By the way, Billy McNichol just joined. And by the way, reminding you all, now is a great time to share and then launch a watch party, to do a watch party. So you share it in the lower left-hand corner and start a watch party, and that'll help get our numbers up. We, by the way, had great numbers on Friday, biggest we've ever seen. And that's one of the things we'll be talking about here, because I believe a lot of the future of politics is going to be online. And so you, all of you, need to develop some basic skills, and we'll be here to help you. Billy will give you some lessons and so on. So let's carry on. And in this idea of the future for politics is online, it already is more and more online. So here's the headline, the story about Twitter. Twitter must cleanse the Trump stain. Now, if you're not aware, Donald Trump has been using Twitter to claim that Joe Scarborough, the MSNBC host, was somehow behind the death of an intern that worked for him, and I think it was 15 or 20 years ago when, hey Beth, how are you? Glad you're here. There was a young woman who died working for Joe Scarborough, and she had an undiagnosed heart condition, and she fell and hit her head and died. And so Trump has been claiming on Twitter that Joe Scarborough is somehow responsible for this. Hi, Jerry. How are you? Glad you're here. So let's look at this again. Jack Dorsey is the chief executive, and they tend to throw people into Twitter jail for doing things, causing trouble on Twitter and breaking their terms of agreement. Well, Trump does it all the time, and they seem to always have an excuse. Look, I believe he's probably responsible for more Twitter traffic than any other human being, so they put up with a lot of malarkey from him. But there's pressure now for him to do something about it. But this should give you an idea, again, of how important being involved online is. And if you haven't already done it, maybe you should join Twitter. We'll show you how to learn it. We'll show you how to use it. But there are a few things you could start to join. You could certainly look for me and follow me. And anytime you see a tweet from me, retweet it. More about Twitter. This is more of a discussion about it. They're claiming First Amendment rights, although Twitter's a private company and not a public square. So they're not obligated to give you all your First Amendment rights. So anyway, I've probably got way too much detail here, but it is time. It is time for Twitter to do a better job of managing what is said, especially from the guy who's your number one user or the number one subject of your content. They should be dealing with that. Terrible news also, and this is another story, unfortunately, of police violence, where a black man who's being arrested, he was being knelt on, his neck was being knelt on, and he said he couldn't breathe, and he winds up dying. And this story, we've heard this all too often. I'm just going to let you all read some of this. I cannot breathe, don't kill me. Just terrible. And this unfortunately ties in with a story from the weekend where a woman was walking her dog, a white woman was walking her dog in a park in New York City, and she let her dog off the leash. And the particular park, I think, is called I'm not sure what it's called. It might be Rampart, or the Ramble. And her dog was off the leash, and another black man said to her, "Hey, put your dog on the leash. You're supposed to do that." She called the police and said, "An African-American man is threatening my life." And he had already started recording the video, and since then she's been punished. I believe she's lost her job. But this is part of the horrible inequality that we see in America for African Americans, and it's, sometimes we discuss subtle racism. This isn't subtle at all. When a woman calls the police because a black man asks her to put her dog on a leash, which she's supposed to do anyway. And I understand that this man was resisting arrest. I'm not sure what they were arresting him for, but they knew he was high. And he winds up dead. And this was done in front of witnesses, so just terrible. Anyway, I'm sorry to share that terrible news with you, but this is why part of looking for justice in our society involves social justice. We want economic justice, we want political justice, and we need social justice. And that is for all of us to have the same basic rights, that all of us can feel like we can walk down the street without getting molested or killed. And the young man who was killed because he looked into a construction site in Georgia. I mean, this kind of thing happens all the time, and it's we've got a long way to go. So, on a lighter note, there's talk about, we're wearing face masks, but face masks are a little bit uncomfortable, and now there's talk that the shield that you can wear might be a better thing to use, and you may still have to use your face mask every so often, but the shield is very interesting, and so people are starting to sell them, including the iconic 80s band Devo, and I may have to order one of these, and perhaps you would like to order one for yourselves. They're on pre-order right now. They're expensive. They're $50. But if you're going to have to wear a shield in front of your face, maybe you need to have some style while you do it. Anyway, that's Devo. Thank you all for being here. We started out with the picture of President Trump. I think we'll end with this picture of the Devo shield. Thank you all for being here. Please remember to share these broadcasts. We do need to find ways to get a broader and broader audience and include more and more people, because that's going to be one of the ways we change the country. Thank you all for being here. I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Hope all is good with you.